This is Perry Elduff coming at you live from the Hustle's Corner, New York City. I want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to take this time to share with you our third session with Sandy Freese. And in this session, we talk about how the church has been used as a tool to instill fear and self-loathing, and how it has been used to brainwash people like Sarah from their youth up with fear and intimidation tactics. I share some of my own experiences of some of the crazy churches I've been through, and Sandy shares her experiences as well. So we invite you to continue to join us and to continue to enjoy the show. And as always, please don't forget, if you like our show, share, like, and subscribe. Leave a comment, and most of all, subscribe. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the show. The worst people you're going to find on the face of the earth is going to be in the church. I could be wrong about that, but my experience has been being in the church. And it's not because the church itself is bad. It's because people are so broken. They come to church looking for spiritual health and spiritual healing, to find a place where they can come and find nurturing for the abuses that they've been through. Because there's not a church I've ever been to where the women haven't taken it over. I haven't been to one church yet. The women have just completely taken the church over.
Not in the one I grew up in. We weren't allowed to. Pray out loud or lead song. None of that, because that would be usurping the authority of a man. So we could sing, with the entire congregation. But
churches I've been to, the women are going, throwing up dresses, and foaming at the mouth, and all kinds of changes. They're going through everything. I'm like, wow, man. But the thing that gets me about all of that is that even though their heart is genuine, so many of them to this day still need healing. They still remain broken. And, it's these, I can't tell you, there was this church, I have to tell you, I know you heard this from Jeanette, I just gotta say, Jeanette gets with me about that. She gets me about me and my stories. There was a church I used to go to out in East New York, Brooklyn, on Crescent Street. It's called True Worship Church. And I never forget how I used to go to that church. And that church used to be, oh boy, that church was something else. It was right across the street from these projects. And the people who come from this project to go into the church, and they be fighting in there and thumping and cussing them around.
Oh my goodness.
It was wild. But the thing that was really used to get me was the ministers in the pulpit and the pastor of the church. I'll never forget, there was one guy there who introduced me to the church. His name is Bernard. I used to call him Shake because he was a phenomenal ball player in the court. He reminded me of him, how he grew up in a home, because he lived in the same building that I used to live in which was the Marlboro Products in Stillwell Avenue in Brooklyn. His father was really tough on him and tough on the family, and his mother had an abusive relationship. So it carried over somewhat in him. He got into a relationship with a woman out of the church, and they got into a scuffle, and he physically abused her. The thing that got me was that the pastor of the church, you go, where they have their little classes that you attend, and
yes,
class, and they hand out your pastor's card. You're now a minister of the church. He holds him up for the whole congregation to hear. Turn in your minister's card. We heard that you abused your wife. Turn in your minister's card. You're no longer a minister for so many days, which was total nonsense. Because I found out later on that all of the ministers in that church, right up in that pulpit, were all having affairs with women behind.
Oh yeah.
I guess everybody needs a hobby.
This is including, and this includes the pastor himself. It was insane how, but they even had a dude, oh my goodness. that church was something else. Now,
Oh my goodness.
fighting and thumping, and and the pastor would always preach, and when he preached, he would pick a couple scriptures in the book, he would read them, and then he just launched into this tirade. Hey, I said this, and the good book says that, and the good book says this, and the good book, and then women that just they're going through the changes, they're going through all these crazy changes in the church. The thing that really got me was offering time. That was only church I've ever been to, whereas when they start the offering, you would have the $100 line. So everybody's looking to see who's getting on the $100 line. Oh, I'm going to go hit with that guy for a little bit of money a little bit later, boys. That's the truth. Then they have the $50 line. Oh, he ain't got $100. He got 50 still. See, get something. Get something from a little later. And then they'd have the $20 line, then the $10 line, then the $5 line. Well, then you come and give whatever you get. Give $1, give $2, give a button off your shirt, whatever you can give. And the thing is, guess how many people got on the $1 line?
Well, more people.
Yeah, 2/3 of the church jump on the $1 line. Now, here's the crazy thing about that church.
All right, Perry.
I just gotta tell you this.
Okay.
I say this. I work for Uber Eats here in New York. Now, I haven't been to that church in like 25 to almost 30 years since I've been to that church. I'm making delivery, and I'm coming up Crescent Street, and I'm like, oh, there's my old church. I haven't seen this church in a long time. I happened to be delivering to the projects across the street. So I went and delivered to the projects across the street, and I came out, and there's like a burger joint on the corner. I ran over there to grab myself something to eat. And here comes this dude in there, and he's arguing with the, with the guy behind the counter, and they're getting ready to thump him, and he's snatching money in his hand, and he's cursing on blah 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 blah. And I'm like, these people from over here are still acting the exact same way, almost 30 years later since I left that church. They're still doing the same thing. And
yeah, hypocrisy is a really hard thing for me to deal with. Because I do remember after leaving the church, I got a lot of letters from people all across the country saying, if you don't go back to church, you're condemned to hell eternally. And I actually was at a restaurant one evening, and there was a couple in there from the church, and I avoided them completely. I went to one table, they were on the other side. Eventually, she came over and said, would you like to go to the bathroom? I need to talk to you for a minute. And I said, sure. And I went to the bathroom, and she said, you're going to have to go back to your husband. You're going to have to come back to church. Condemned to hell forever. I said, thank you. It's been a pleasure seeing you. I go back out. I sat down. I finished my meal. I was ill, physically ill after that. You can only hear you're going to hell so many times before you break. And, it was a few years later that someone had organized a class get together from like my high school reunion. It was at a sports bar. So I go in there and I meet some of my classmates. This very same couple that was in the restaurant years before was in the sports bar. After being taught, you do not ever drink. You do not ever smoke. You do not wear shorts. You do not dance. You do not, and they're staunch members of this church. And there they are drinking and dancing. And I thought, oh, what? So maybe I don't have to be perfect.
That's true.
I mean,
most people in church are phony,
Yes.
I don't go. I mean, I used to go to church. I stop. I watch my ministry in home. 'Cause I love Dr. Charles Stanley. I watch him every Sunday.
I'll have to write that down.
Yeah. He's my favorite minister. So, the church is so funny. A lot of phony people, man. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I found out I'm a very spiritually minded person, but I feel spiritual mainly when I'm meditating, because I've practiced yoga and meditation for so many years, probably 30 years, and so when I take a walk in nature, or when the sun is coming through my shears and lighting the room. And I feel spiritual when I'm talking to people such as the two of you. When I'm talking to inmates, when I'm talking to their family members and other advocates, that satiates me and makes me feel I'm a very spiritual and minded person. And I think I was feeling it wrong. I was not being authentic when I was just going to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night for years and years and years, because I wasn't feeling anything.
Right.
So, in other words, you found release and freedom when you broke that superficial mold that the church and the people of the church imposed upon you. You felt truly liberated when you came to terms with your relationship with your father and how you let it go. Please describe and explain that liberation. What's it like to truly feel that freedom, that rush of freedom? Explain that, please.
You know, there was one morning, and I remember this so clearly, but I was sitting up here. I'm in my office now, upstairs in my home, and I was sitting up here typing on the computer and talking to different people, and I was messaging back and forth with someone who had been abused. And this is the mother of a person that is incarcerated. And I was talking to her back and forth, and we were sharing stories and things. And all of a sudden, I got so excited because I was talking about it. And by talking about it, I was helping her. I remember that day, it was like this big weight was lifted. I don't have to lie. I don't have to sneak around anymore. I love that. That's a freeing feeling.
You know, I want to point out something here that I think is also very important, is that you not only were talking about it, you were talking about it to somebody who identifies.
Yes.
And you connected. That's the real key right there. The real key is, instead of finding people who judge you, find people who have something in common with you, who understand what you've been through. And when you come together, you both liberate each other. And all you have to do is talk about it.
That's right.
I have lived in the Bronx where I was stabbed. I have lived in Brooklyn in an apartment and I was renting a room next to a Jamaican woman. The woman hated my guts so bad, I was forced to leave. My brother's ex-girlfriend was responsible for me being homeless. I've been riding out here in New York City, and I've gotten hit by cars, knocked down. I've been, I've had some pretty traumatic experiences in my life.
Yes, so sorry.
And yeah, you're talking to a tough old man.
Oh, you're talking to a tough old gal here too.
Oh, we all tough. We all
we have something. But the thing is that I've learned that is so liberating, is to forgive them all and let it go. To this day, I don't have anything against them at all. I wish them well. I have, I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. I don't speak bad of them, because I know that the road that they're going on is going to take them down to a path that's going to make their lives a lot worse than I've been through.
Yes. And the thing is, we learn too. We learn from what we've been through. And one of the biggest things I think I've learned from everything that has happened in my past is the need to surround. If you're marching forward, march forward with a troop of like-minded, transparent people. Don't continue aligning yourself with people that are going to be detrimental to you.
This concludes this session of the Hustler's Corner in New York City. If you are a person that's incarcerated and you have books that you'd like to get out and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner in New York City Tales from the Bid series. If you are a person who has been wrongfully convicted of a crime that you did not commit and you want to share your story, Come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Victims of the System series. If you are a person who has been self-reformed, active in the community, came out of a past nefarious life to a more positive one, and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Legends of the Hood series. If you are a Black business owner and you want to share your story of how you got your business off the ground and how you faced many challenges to succeed, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Black Business Movement series. If you are a musician or an artist or a vocalist or a rapper, hip hop artist, and you want to share your story about your career and how you have grown it into success, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City On the Grind series. And if you are a woman who has been through traumatic times in her life only to overcome them, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Lipstick Stories series. And if you're enjoying the show, please help us grow. Show your love. Like, share, leave a comment, and most of all, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you again. This is Perry L. Duff from the Hustle's Corner, New York City. Peace.